All right, hello, and welcome to another episode of Book Faces Live. I'm Nathan Van Coops, I'm your host, and today I'm thrilled to be bringing you an interview with Damon Freeman from Demonza. Welcome, Damon.
Thank you very much, Nathan. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on the show for a variety of reasons. One is that I've been itching to talk to a cover designer as part of this ongoing, this series, but especially because you're my cover designer. You're the company that I've used for my books, and I've been absolutely thrilled with the results. So I'm really excited to kind of get into the story behind your amazing work. Could you tell us a little bit about you, and maybe just to start out with how you started out getting into the design business?
Well, sure. I guess it's kind of a longish story, but I started off as a regular graphic designer in South Africa, and I started as just a normal graphic design company, like many other graphic design companies are around in South Africa, and we did quite well. And in Johannesburg, South Africa, and it went well. All was good. I eventually merged with another company, and ultimately left that business to start a different company in the marketing space, which was a complete disaster. Okay. And I lost all my savings, and it was just a bad idea, badly done, and kind of I was left some financial trouble. So what I had to do was I then went back to the company that I originally started, just then as a much sort of smaller capacity, and I earned a salary then, but it wasn't enough to cover all this debt that I'd racked up with the failure business. So I really was desperate to find something that I could earn extra income with. And I found a website called 99designs.com. You may have heard of it, other authors may have used it. And it's a great service, because what happened was that I was there able to compete for money, for payment with other designers and doing creative work, which is what I did. And so I was working during the day, my normal job, and at night I would start competing on the design work. And it wasn't just covers, it was posters and logos and websites and all of those kind of things. Yeah. And I found that I was probably winning or getting paid out for one of 5 projects that I would work on. So 1 in 5 I'd get paid on. But what happened was with book covers, I was getting paid maybe 1 in 3. So whenever I was doing a cover, I had sort of better win rate, let's call it. So I was getting paid more on this. And then, so I started focusing on that. For a while, for a few months, and that kind of worked. It helped me sort of keep afloat, I guess, and start paying off the debt. And then I found another website called elance.com, which is now called Upwork, I believe. Yep. And it's a similar kind of thing, except I didn't have to do the work first. I could just pitch for the work with the description of my skills. And now, because of my work on 99 Designs, I had quite a big portfolio of covers. Many of them hadn't been used because I hadn't won those bids, but I had still. So I had a portfolio of covers, and I started putting work on elance.com and getting more business that way. Eventually I started a website, and nothing happened to it at all. It just sat there for 6 months with nothing. That was demonza.com, that website. Okay. Until I got one author, started doing work, and I got a reference for another author, and that's it started slowly picked up. I was doing the Elance work, I was doing the 99 Designs work, I was getting 1 or 2 from my website, and I was still working full time during the day. So what happened was, I'd be working till 2, 3 in the morning, and then I had to get up again at 7 to go to work, and I did that for about 9 months, 10 months, and eventually my website, started picking up more and more and more, so I could stop doing the Elance and the 99 Designs work, and I would get maybe 10 covers a month through the website, and then 15, and then 20, and then 25, until eventually I had to quit my day job just to keep up with the the work coming through demonza.com.
Yeah.
But very soon afterwards, I actually found that I couldn't keep up with demand, so I had to hire somebody. So I found another designer that I'd worked with in my business before, and she started helping me out. And between the two of us, we would sort of get the work done. But then very soon, I needed a third designer to kind of keep going, and then between the three of us, and ultimately, it kept going. So I had eventually I had a team of maybe 5 designers, but I wasn't really getting any rest. I still had to work till the whole day then, and still till 2-3 in the morning doing the design work, and managing these designers and speaking to authors, and making sure all the changes are getting done and properly. And eventually, I thought, I need to hire a project manager.
Yeah.
And this was in 2014, which was Alicia, that you may have worked with.
I do, yes.
So Alicia, she was based in the US, and that helped me with time zones and all of those kind of things, because that's also a problem. Working within different time zones can add delays, which are difficult to work around. So she came on board and really just improved every aspect of managing these projects. I was trying to keep track of invoicing people and losing projects and all of those kind of things, and she set up a system that really helped with everything. And I still, the work was increasing. At that point, we were maybe doing 60 covers a month, 70 covers a month. I needed more designers, and ultimately I needed another project manager, which is Chrissy, which you may also have worked with. So Alicia and Chrissy have been there for a very long time. And ultimately, at the end of everything, what happened was that the designers that I found were really, really good, and the project managers that I had were great. So the designers were doing work better than I would have been able to do. So my role kind of changed into just overseeing really everything. All the work that was getting designed, I had to firstly make sure that the right designer is working on the right cover for that genre. And then, make sure the quality was good enough, and they weren't missing anything in the original brief, and all of those kind of things. And that's kind of my day-to-day job now, is overseeing the work that's being done. Yeah. And that's it. And here we are today.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing a little bit of your background. So obviously you had an eye for this. You said in the beginning, even, you were getting 1 out of 3 of your book designs was getting picked up, and with a lot of competition on 99 Designs. So obviously you had a background not just in design, but you had a great eye for what sells for books specifically. How did you sort of train yourself to understand the market for books?
I think what it was is when I was with the design company, so just before I started working on the book covers, we were doing a lot of sports-related design. So one of our clients was the South African Rugby Union and one or two soccer teams and those kind of things. And their the message, I guess, that you want to get with every ad, every piece of design work, is that you kind of got to generate emotions. It's all about passion, for sport. You want people to feel something. That's why they're going to support their team.
Yeah.
So I think that emotion and passion was really part of my design work. So when it came to the covers, I guess I wanted to do the same kind of thing. So when you look at a cover, it's not just a flat cover. It's not just a description of what's inside. You want to get an emotion out of it. You want to get a feeling of how am I going to feel while I'm reading this book. And I kind of think that experience there with the sports and the passion, they helped with translating the interior of the book into like an emotion on the cover.
I think you guys have done an amazing job too with just light and color. When I look at my own cover designs, I see they're similar but different, but they're very complementary colors, and the lighting has been brilliant. So I think they are definitely standout covers, and I encourage anyone who's watching, if you haven't already, checked out demonza.com and looked through some of the portfolio. They're incredibly well-made covers. We have quite a few questions already from viewers, and I wanted to get to some of those. Marilyn asks, how much info do you need about a book to do a cover?
Yeah, so what we do is we have a briefing form on our site, and it kind of has all the information that we need. It would be great to be able to read every book that we do a cover for. It's just, it will take too long. It's not possible. In fact, we've done over 4,000 covers. I haven't read a single one of those books that we've done the covers for.
Yeah.
So what we really need is a description of the book. You know, what's it about? What are the messages that what you're trying to get, through with it? It's great to have sort of key elements of, where is it taking place? Who are the main characters? What do they look like? Those kind of things. And finally, and probably one of the most important aspects is we need to know what other covers you like. There are 1,000 different styles of a book cover, and we want to do something that the author likes. So at that point, we then use all of that information to come up with a cover, firstly, that matches what is inside this book, that the author also likes, and that fits well within that genre, so that it sells.
We have a question. Todd Hodges asked. He is the author of The Never Hero, whose book you designed. And as I was mentioning before we went live, I found out about you roundabout through Todd and his covers. But he asks. He has a variety of questions in his one question. But one of them related to this was, how do you begin when a customer has no idea what they want?
Right, so, we have experience within, all genres, or most genres, for sure. So we kind of know what works within a genre, whether it's, whether it's a suspense thriller, you're not going to use, as an example, sort of a cursive, curly font or whatever it is. We've got experience in what looks good. So in that case, and that happens, often. So in that case, we obviously take what the book is about, we try and find what the key themes are of the book, with the key messages that we don't want to give away too much or anything like that, but we want to give readers a feeling of what might be inside, and then we use that with the genre indicators that we already know, and we put something out that fits in with what's already out there. At the end of the day, there's very few people that come and read your book that have never read in that genre before, so they know what they like, and they see visually what kind of books that they like to read, and we try to make sure that your book fits in with that. So we don't want to do something that's way out there that people can read and go, this doesn't look like other books that I like. So we try to match it up so that your book sort of fits in well in the top, in the bestsellers in that genre.
I've noticed that you have periodic, blog posts to help authors out about this on your website. You guys have sort of shared some of your experiences and done. There's information out there you guys post, even on Facebook. I've seen things where you share information and tips for authors. One of the questions I had was about titles. And do you have any advice for authors when it comes to designing a book, how they should choose a title and how that might affect the way that the book's going to look?
Yeah, look, titles can be something that's difficult for us to work with. Books are relatively narrow. So titles that are really long are very difficult to work with. So we like to, and when I say long, I don't mean number of words. I mean when there's a long word in the title, it can be difficult to work with. So for us, it's always easier when the title is made up with one or many shorter words. But other than that, the title, no, I don't really have any advice. That it's got to work obviously with what's in the book. It shouldn't be too generic, because then you're going to be competing with 100 other books with the same title. So keep it interesting, but keep it shorter words.
How do you, as a designer, and as a company, how are you staying on top of the trends for various genres? What are the ways that you kind of stay ahead of things?
I wouldn't say we do try to stay ahead of things. I think we try to fit in with the way things are going. So, because we ask authors to send examples of covers that they like. That kind of helps us, so authors are obviously always looking at other books, always going, through what's out there, and we try to match up with what they like. So we're trying to do something that the author likes, as well as keep in touch with what's happening in the genre. And we do that just by continually working in that genre. So if we look at our covers from 6 years ago when we started to now, it's not that much of a variation. I feel like the design skills have improved over that time. Just generally working with fonts and how those fonts work with images. But on the whole, our style has mostly remained consistent in that time. I also have a Pinterest page that, which is great. I mean, it helps me because I have a page there with covers that I am inspired by, and we share that with the designers and covers that I just really like. And the great thing with Pinterest is that it's always showing you other people who share the same pins as you like, and so I'm always seeing things that are there. Mostly we're trying to fit into a genre. We're not looking to break new ground as much as make sure that this cover works, for existing readers of that genre.
Yeah, I think that's solid advice for a lot of writers. Like, people don't really want different as much as they think they do sometimes, I think. Especially when it comes to sales. You go to look at these, certain romance titles will all have very, very similar covers, but it's intentional. So
yeah, exactly. It works. That's what people want.
That's what sells. Claire Taylor asks, how far in advance of a release should an author get on your schedule?
Well, because it's not just me, we have a few designers that work with. We're kind of always available. What I've done in the past, or the way it's kind of worked, I guess, is that the number of people that I have working for me and our pricing has made sure that we're always available. So I guess I've just stretched out the time to it's basically 14 days that it takes to get the first drafts. In the beginning, when I was still, figuring out the demand and how to kind of make things work, it was originally 2 days to first draft, then 5 days and a week. But we've been on 14 days now for probably about 3 years. And that's where we are now, and that works for us. And within 14 days we can get the first drafts. I would say that, depending on changes and those kind of things, the entire cover process should take maybe 3 to 5 weeks. I guess. I mean, you would know.
I do, yeah. I've been very happy with your turnaround time. I'm very impressed to be able to get not just one but 2 designs back in 14 days, which I think is incredible and I also find it very helpful that your company does provide 2 drafts that are usually very distinct from one another. You're not just offering up one thing, you're offering choices, which sometimes can be nerve-wracking because the options are so darn good and you have to make a decision. Has that helped you streamline the overall process though? Has giving people multiple options been a big plus as far as your sales?
Yeah, for the most part, it's actually what happens sometimes is that with the working with designers, there are more than 2 drafts, and sometimes I need to narrow it down to 2. But look, often they're really good, and we'll do 4 drafts for an author. We kind of say at least 2.
Yeah.
And sometimes those first 2 that we do are just not at all what the author is looking for, and then we've got it wrong, or we need more information, or whatever, and then we'll do more. So as much as we can, we're going to keep going until the author's happy. Depending on the brief, if the brief is very specific with what the author is looking for, then those 2 drafts will probably be basically the same thing done in 2 different ways. And if the author is not quite sure what they want, there'll be more variation in those drafts.
I think I've done kind of a variety with your services. Like, I've had some where the covers came back and we started over from scratch, but I've also had some where you gave me 2 different covers. I know the very first cover I had designed with you guys was the Chronothon, and One cover came back very similar to what I was kind of expecting and kind of looking for, but then the second cover was completely unexpected and far superior. It blew me away. It was just kind of came out of nowhere, and I thought, man, I would never have thought of this in a million years, but that's now the cover of the book. And I went back later on and bought the other cover as a pre-made, because you had it up on the pre-made site for a while, and it said, you know what, I still like that one too, so now that's a bonus book that some of my readers can get if they sign up for my website. If you go to my website, you'll see the other cover. So it worked for me that, I ended up buying one cover and then went back and bought the other one and later as a pre-made anyway, just because I decided that I couldn't live without that one either. So it's definitely worked out in my case.
Good.
There was a few other questions here. Todd had a couple other ones thrown in here. He said, what are your strongest covers? What you love to be asked to design? Do you have any weakest covers or like ones that you hate being asked to design?
I'll tell you, we're not great at illustrated covers. Okay. So, we're our design. The way we do things is we take stock photos, which is the way. Look, most cover designers will work. We'll take stock photos from different royalty-free stock photo sites, and we will combine 4 or 5 or 10 or 3, whatever it is, of those photos together to make a composite image for the cover. We sometimes do illustrated covers when the illustration is kind of simple. We're not artists in that sense. We're not illustrators like that. So we tend not to do those kind of covers. Sometimes we get asked to do them and they're a bit more complicated. Sometimes we just have to say, look, we can't do that. So those covers we're not great at. And also what also happens, and authors do this quite a lot, and we try to, for 2 reasons, we try to dissuade them from doing this, is when an author wants a specific scene from a book, where they've got the hero holding a sword and wearing a skimpy outfit, and she is battling a horde of zombies, and the zombies need to look in a certain way. There's only so much we can do, unfortunately, with stock photos. So when we have to create a scene like that using, it's very, very, it's difficult. And what happens is we have to start taking different body parts from different people to get this, thing right. And ultimately, those original photos were taken in a certain lighting, certain shadows, and it's, when you Frankensteining those images together, it doesn't work. So in those cases, we try to avoid doing that as much as we can, and say, look, at the end of the day, you want people to buy your book. You don't have to explain your whole book on the cover. You just want to give them enough of the feel of what's inside that they're going to go, wow, this looks interesting. I'm going to pick it up and read it. You don't have to. You don't have to give it away all on the front cover. And so it's those kind of books. Those kind of covers. We prefer not to do those, and we're not great at those. Those are the kind of things. If you get a real illustrator to draw that kind of thing, a real artist, it's expensive, but
very expensive.
But that works. If you've got the budget, you should do that.
Yeah. In
terms of the covers that we like doing, or that I feel we're good at, I guess everything else. I feel like we're good at everything else. It's we've experienced. We've done many thousands of covers. We've gotten experience in many different genres. And that's a great thing about what we do, because every project is different. Just we love that. So yeah, I guess that's that.
We had another comment from Tori. Says, big fan of Demonza, and she's liked all of the covers all the designs that got backed, and pleased with the final outcome. So another fan.
Thanks, Tori.
Tori, and those covers turned out great. I did see those. So yeah, this has been really helpful. What other kinds of advice do you have for authors who are maybe just starting out with maybe this coming to you for the first time, and maybe this is their first book? What are some of the basic things that every author should sort of know before they design their book cover? I know it's a big question.
I would say look, it doesn't have to be just when you come to us. I think when you go to any, firstly, it's the right decision to choose a cover designer to design your cover, a professional cover designer to work on your cover. It's always going to be money well spent. If you've chosen a professional cover designer and you've got a good cover and your book hasn't sold, then it's not the cover that's making it. That's ensuring it's not sold. It's going to be something else. On the other hand, you may have a fantastic book, and you've done all the right things. It's professionally edited and formatted. But if the cover doesn't work for it, it doesn't matter how good that book is. No one's going to pick it up and read it, or it's certainly going to hurt your sales. So, firstly, well done for making the choice to choose a professional designer. Then I would say be pretty clear in what you want, in the sense that don't leave it too open-ended. You got to give a designer an indication of the direction that you'd like to go in. And so on your side, do some research into what kind of covers you like, what kind of books you like the look of. So it helps the designer a lot just to see your own personal style. And then, and then also if you can look at what the key themes are of your book. So it's not really just the blurb if you just give somebody the blurb on the back of the book, it helps, but it doesn't help as much as an indication of what messages you're trying to get. What is the feeling you want to get out of your cover? When readers look at it, and in that 3-second chance they have to decide whether to look further into your book, what feeling must they have with the cover?
Yeah,
that kind of information is very useful.
I'm going to show some people some of the covers on your website on the stream here, so people can see some of the gorgeous work that you guys have done in the past. And I highly recommend that anyone who's interested in cover design definitely go check out the website and look at the portfolio and see some of the various offerings. Do you think that there is a particular genre that you think you're strongest at, or do you think any of them?
I think any of them. Other than those really illustrated fantasy, we don't do many children's books.
Okay.
We'll do sort of maybe teen or young adult, but we don't do many children's books. I guess because if they're young children's book, they've already got sort of illustrations that they may have inside, and you can just put one of those on the cover and it looks good. But other than that, but we're probably a bit stronger in fiction than non-fiction.
Okay.
Just because we tend to maybe do, for every one non-fiction cover we design, we might design 20 fiction covers.
And you guys also offer formatting. So could you touch on that just for a minute, just the importance of getting proper formatting and what your services provide there?
Yeah, so formatting is not my strong point personally. The formatting side of things is run by my colleague Benjamin. Okay. And he knows everything. But I can tell you that formatting's great in that when I say formatting's great, what I mean is when formatting's not great, you notice it. When formatting's done well, you don't know it's there. And that's really why you need it. Because as soon as it's not done properly, it ruins the reading experience for an author, and no matter how good it is, the book is, the reader's going to be distracted by how bad the formatting is.
No, I 100% agree. I've read some samples of people's books, or even just people don't understand that the look inside feature of a book is very important. Like on Amazon, if you're browsing for books, you can click on that look inside, and if you see that it's improperly formatted, if it starts you on chapter 1 and the formatting's off, things aren't justified properly, you got ragged edges there's little things that can set you apart as an amateur that you don't want to have set you apart as an amateur. So
and you don't even notice that you're doing it, because you kind of when you're looking at the same page on your screen, or writing the book, that looks fine. You don't notice it in other people's books because the formatting's done properly. It's just when suddenly it's not done right that it's that's terrible.
Yeah. We had one more question here from Sean. He says, "Where did the idea for those steampunk airships come from for Nathan's samples of his next Faster Than Falling book?" He had a sneak peek. He's cheating. He saw the covers that I haven't actually even published yet. But he's asking about where you got those great steampunk airships from.
Well, they came from the author. Well, the idea and description came from the author, and it's the same way. We've taken stock images and joined them together in certain ways to form a composite design that creates those airships. And there was a very a good designer that worked on it and put it together. And once he'd done it, he presented it to me and said, "What do you think of this?" I said, "Hey, that looks fantastic."
Yeah.
Send it. In fact, I know those covers well.
Yeah.
The drafts or the final ones that you chose were not the ones I preferred.
Yeah.
I prefer
the other set. That was a really tough decision because, and for those who aren't familiar, I asked Damon to design 3 covers for a whole series at once. So before deciding on book 1 cover, I wanted to see what they would all look like as a group, and it was definitely a very difficult decision, especially the book 2 that you gave me, the second offering. If it had just been down to that one cover of book 2, I would have gone the other direction because it just blew me away. It was the fact that the way they looked all together was the only thing that sold me on the one route versus the other. But I ran it by some of my readers, and they were very torn too. I feel like any way I would have gone would have been a winner though. So
yeah, I mean, anyway, I don't want to talk about it because no one else can know what you're talking about.
They will eventually. I'll publish those books, and then people can judge them. Yeah. So, well, we're kind of coming up on our half hour here. We've been chatting for a while, so I won't take up too much more of your time. But where is the best place for people to find more information about you, and maybe if they have questions? I know you offer some information for authors out there. Where's the best place for people to get maybe information from you, emails from you? How can they do that?
If you go to the website, damonza.com, or the Facebook page, you can post any questions there. If you follow the Facebook page, we send out sort of advice, not just on covers, but on everything to do with books. When I think about it, every few weeks or so, if you want to get sort of those kind of things, they're quite funny, I think, those articles that you write. It's not, I wish it was just me writing them. I've got a great writer that sort of takes ideas and just runs with them. I love it. Yeah. And Twitter, on Twitter at Damonza123.
Okay.
And
Damonza123.
Yeah, that's it.
Fantastic. And I know a lot of us are appreciative of finally being able to pronounce Damonza properly, because I've been saying Damonza, and then some people have been saying Damon's on. Now we've actually heard it from the man himself.
All right. It's all right. When I came up with the name, it was just me, and I lived in South Africa at the time, and the .com in South Africa is .co.za or ZA, as you guys would say it. So I kind of just took my name, Damon, and put the Z on the end to come up with something that I thought would just be unique, because I wanted the .com domain name. And I never for a second thought, are people going to pronounce it? I just thought, well, it's written down, that's how it looks, that's how people see it, and so now people do ask me, and they ask me where do I work, what do I do, and I say, my name's Damon, but I work for Damonza. I know it doesn't make any sense, but that's just how it worked out.
Well, it's a good problem to have that your company is now so successful that you can't change the name. It's a good problem to have. We had one more problem from Tamara. She says, do you keep your design files after a project is finished so that the author may add review quotes or maybe added later on?
Yeah, so we do. We've got everything. Every cover we've worked on since 2012 when we started. We've got all the files. The author we can provide the layered files as well to the author if they want that. It's an additional fee, just because it takes us time to kind of get rid of the junk in the file. The hidden layers and all that, prepare them and send them to the author. But we do have them, and we do make changes after the fact if required, and we can send them to the author as well if they need it.
Fantastic. So thank you, Tamara, for your question. And if anyone else has questions, we're going to be wrapping up here, so I'm not going to be able to answer any more questions live. But if you want to throw some questions up in the comments thread, if you're watching the replay, feel free to ask questions, and we'll see if Damon might be able to pop on and answer some of those after the fact. So,
Sure.
that's not too much trouble. So Damon, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. It's been wonderful talking to you.
It's a pleasure, Nathan. It's great talking to you too. It was I feel it was much more relaxed than I was expecting. So it was great. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for your time. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Cheers.
Bye.